Joe Biden officially clinches the Electoral College, so we'll talk a bit about what's going on with that and how that works going on forward. Antrim County releases the results of their audit of Dominion, and it is not as good as you might think, so we'll talk a bit about what's going on with that. In other news, a teacher is fired for sharing anti-Biden memes, and she's going back and filing suit against Pennsylvania for wrongful termination, which is good. You should be free to speak however you want. And a sheriff in Pennsylvania is switching parties because the Democrats just got to be too socialist for him. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. We've got a ton of stuff to get to today with the changing of the guard, potentially, and yet there's still some avenue out there where the Trump could win it out. And they keep trying to tell you about it. I have little faith in this at this point, but I love to watch the fireworks. I like to see what's happening, and I want to know what's going to happen here in our world and how some of these things can be cemented. We'll talk a bit about that. We'll talk about the Pennsylvania sheriff, the Antrim County voting machines. We'll talk about all of that and more, but before we get into any of that, head on over to freedomscoop.com. freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We carry great shows such as The Generational Gap, The Daily Ignoramus, Contemporary, of course, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, and The Freckles and Brit Show. Come on over. Pick up some of our swag and help us support great creators. Help us keep building a website. Help us get the news back out to you. All right, looking into the stocks here for the morning. The Dow Jones looks like it reloaded on me, but it closed down. Pretty much went going down the entire day, closing at 29,861.55. And there's some talks about lockdowns. There's some talks about what's going to happen to the economy, where the vaccine is going, whether or not we're going to get stimulus. So there's a lot of talk going on with this and what this could possibly mean going forward. But as of right now, it looks like the markets aren't too happy that Biden is coming out and being the president. But we'll see. Reading first from Investors Business Daily. Never mind. That advertisement wasn't up there before. Reading now from CNBC. 5 things to know before the stock market opens on Tuesday. Number 1, the Dow is set to rise after fears of COVID restrictions wiped out Monday's gains. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was set to open higher by about 200 points on Tuesday, one day after stocks gave up gains and closed lower. Fears of new COVID-19 mitigation measures ended up offsetting optimism around the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine rollout. Despite dropping 184 points on Monday, the Dow was still less than 1.2% from its December 4th record high close. The dragging talks on the new COVID economic stimulus didn't help inspire Wall Street on Monday, as a group of bipartisan lawmakers split their $908 billion rescue package into 2 bills in hope of getting something through the GOP-controlled Senate and the Democrat-held House before the end of the year. The Federal Reserve, which has been prodding Capitol Hill and the White House to agree on more relief, begins its final 2-day policy meeting of 2020 on Tuesday. Interest rates near zero are not expected to be changed Wednesday afternoon, but expanded bond buying could be on the table. Investors will also watch Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's news conference for signals on the direction of the economy next year. Number 2, Pfizer vaccine expected at more distribution sites. You can go get the vaccine. Go take mine, because I'm not taking it. Shipments of Pfizer's COVID vaccine are set to arrive Tuesday at 400 additional hospitals and other distribution sites across the nation. While the first U.S. healthcare workers received shots on emergency use authorization on Monday, it will be several months before the average person can receive the vaccine. The FDA published its analysis of Moderna's coronavirus vaccine, saying it meets expectations for emergency use. The agency's vaccine advisory panel meets Thursday on whether the recommended clearance upon authorization. Government officials plan to ship nearly 6 million Moderna shots, in addition to the initial 2.9 million Pfizer doses already being deployed. Number 3, UK government says it's found a new coronavirus variant. So that vaccine you just got is apparently bullshit already. 1 week after the UK became the first nation to give Pfizer vaccine shots on emergency clearance, the government identified a new coronavirus variant that may be linked with the faster spread of cases in southern parts of that country. On Wednesday, London and parts of Essex and Hertfordshire are set to enter England's toughest tier of COVID restrictions. In New York, Democratic Governor Andy Cuomo said Monday, "If we do not change the trajectory, we could very well be headed to shutdown. Go back to where we were. All non-essential businesses close. They go to zero." Democratic New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio also warned that another full lockdown may be needed to slow hospitalizations, which nationwide keeps hitting record after record as U.S. deaths topped 300,000 and U.S. cases exceeded 16.5 million. Citation needed, please. Biden calls for unity and healing, but also slams Trump. Because of course he did. President-elect Joe Biden called for unity and healing and a deeply divided nation Monday night, hours after electors across the country certified his Electoral College victory over President Trump. He also slammed Trump for unfounded claims of voter fraud. Stop looking, man, because, if you might find something, if you keep looking. Saying the Supreme Court sent a clear signal to President Trump that they would be no part of an unprecedented assault on democracy. It's a republic. More Republicans recognized Biden as the next president. Even Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated Biden. "For my part, I am ready for interaction and contacts with you," Putin said in a statement on Tuesday. Barr resigns as AG after clashes with the president. AG Barr will as head of the Justice Department, but depart before Christmas. The widely anticipated announcement comes just moments after Biden's victory over Trump was formalized by the Electoral College. The shakeup in the twilight of Trump's tenure in the White House also followed weeks of public clashes between Barr and the president. In tweets, Trump implied that he bore no ill will towards Barr despite recent criticisms. Senator Mitt Romney told CNBC on Monday he's not surprised that Barr could no longer associate himself with the process that's going on now. And we'll talk a bit about that just a bit more here. So that's what we're seeing from the markets. We will catch up with the numbers here, see what's going on with that, and see what's happening with the news. Starting with the Associated Press. Electoral College makes it official. Biden won, Trump lost. From Mark Sherman. The Electoral College decisively confirmed Joe Biden on Monday as the nation's next president, ratifying his November victory in an authoritative state-by-state repudiation of President Trump's refusal to concede that he lost. The presidential electors gave Biden a solid majority of 306 electoral votes to Trump's 232, the same margin that Trump bragged was a landslide when he won the White House 4 years ago. Heightened security was in place in some states as electors met to cast paper ballots with masks, social distancing, and other pandemic precautions. The order of the day. The results will be sent to Washington and tallied on a January 6th joint session of Congress, over which Vice President Mike Pence will preside. For all of Trump's unsupported claims of fraud, there was little surprise and no change, as every one of the electoral votes allocated to Biden and the president in last month's popular vote went officially to each man. On Election Day, the Democrat topped the incumbent Republican by more than 7 million in the popular vote nationwide. California's 55 electoral votes put Biden over the top. Vermont, with 3 votes, was the first state to report. Hawaii, with 4 votes, was the last. Once again in America, the rule of law, our Constitution, and the will of the people had prevailed. Our democracy, pushed, tested, threatened, proved to be resilient, true, and strong. Biden said in an evening speech, which he stressed the size of his win and the record. 81 million people voted for him. Yeah, I'm going to need a citation on that too, because that's a lot of people to vote for a vegetable, especially when they were begging you, please don't make me vote for Joe Biden. They didn't want to vote for Joe Biden. Please don't make them vote for Joe Biden. And still, to this day, all the bellwethers were there. And I still can't believe for a second that Joe Biden got more votes in this country than Barack Obama did. A charismatic politician who could lie to you the right way and tell you what you wanted to hear. I can't believe for a second that Joe Biden got more votes than him. Not even close. But, as I mentioned yesterday, on Twitter and over on the show. We've got the bellwethers. We've got Ohio and Florida. We've got the cookies. We'll sell cookies with Biden and Trump on them, and whoever wins that generally wins the presidential election. That's a bellwether. That's been accurate for 30 years. And yet he overcame that. And the Halloween mask bellwether. Whoever buys the most Halloween masks of one president or the other, that's who generally wins the election. Well, he overcame that bellwether too. Every bellwether that was out there, Biden overcame and got a record number of votes in this country. And I don't buy a word of it. So, that's what they're saying off of this, but, of course, everything was above board, Susan Wojcicki, and nothing went wrong. Everything was completely perfect with this. But there was no concession from the White House, and where Trump has continued to make unsupported allegations of fraud. Trump remained in the Oval Office long after the sun set in Washington, calling allies and fellow Republicans, while keeping track of the running Electoral College tally. According to the White House and campaign aides, the president frequently ducked into the private dining room of the Oval Office to watch on TV, complaining that the cable networks were treating it like a mini-election night, while not giving his challenges any airtime. Yeah, the processes have been going nuts off of this. I mean, politics has become a reality TV show. Everybody's glued to the TV to watch the next event in The Federal Apprentice. I didn't care on the Electoral College. We sat by, we saw election night. We saw when people went to the polls and the water buffalo was sweating his ass off. And then, boom, all of a sudden, here we are at 306 electoral votes. The president had grown increasingly disappointed with the size of Stop the Steal rallies across the nation, as well as efforts for the GOP to field its own slates of electors in states. A presidential wish for a fierce administration defense led to TV appearances early Monday by Stephen Miller, one of his most ferocious advocates, to try and downplay the importance of the Electoral College vote and suggest that Trump's legal challenges would continue all the way to Inauguration Day on January 20th. Late in the day, he took to Twitter to announce that AG Barr was leaving the administration before Christmas. Barr's departure comes amid lingering tensions over Trump's unsupported fraud claims, especially after Barr's statements this month to the Associated Press that the election results were unaffected by any fraud. Yeah, that wouldn't be what I'd be pissed at him about, but we'll talk about that just a bit later. But as of right now, the Electoral College has voted, and I got hairy legs is going to be the guy that has the codes to the nuclear football. Think about that, and think about how that makes you feel. All right, let's keep going. From KSHB, Kansas City 41, despite Electoral College sealing Biden's win, Trump continues to push election misinformation. From Alex Hyder, misinformation. President Trump isn't letting up on pushing false claims about the 2020 election even after the Electoral College upheld President-elect Joe Biden's win on Monday. In the early morning hours of Tuesday, Trump took to Twitter to spread more information about voting systems and unsubstantiated voter fraud claims. The flood of misinformation forced Twitter to apply 7 warning labels about election security to 7 tweets or retweets from the president. The Electoral College's vote on Monday to seal Biden's win in the 2020 election gives Trump little recourse to further challenge the results. The Supreme Court has already rejected several lawsuits brought by the Trump campaign, and with electoral votes cast, the election is now out of the hands of the states which counted the votes. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second, because that's kind of one of those, of course it is, situations. In a speech delivered Monday following the Electoral College vote, Biden delivered his most pointed criticism of Trump's continued election denialism yet. He described one lawsuit in which conservative-leaning states sued other battleground states in an attempt to overturn the results of the election as so extreme, we've never seen it before, a position that refused to respect the will of the people, refused to respect the rule of law, and refused to honor the Constitution. Thankfully, a unanimous Supreme Court immediately and completely rejected this effort, Biden said. The court sent a clear signal to President Trump that there would be no part of an unprecedented assault on our democracy. With election results sealed, the attention now turns to January 20th, Inauguration Day. Earlier this month, Trump said he would leave the White House if the Electoral College declared Biden the winner. However, it's unclear if he will greet Biden at the White House on Inauguration Day, as is tradition. So, we'll see what happens there. Misinformation. Misinformation about mail-in voting that was completely above board and could never have any sort of problems anywhere whatsoever. Honk honk. Alright, from CBS News. Biden, fresh off Electoral College win, accuses Trump of unprecedented assault on democracy. No author given. President-elect Joe Biden accused President Trump of an unprecedented assault on democracy in a speech Monday night, hours after the Electoral College formalized his victory. Mr. Trump has refused to concede the election and has tried repeatedly to use the courts to challenge his results without success. Mr. Biden, speaking in Wilmington, Delaware, ran through some of Mr. Trump's legal challenges and said, "They were found to be without merit every time. Every single avenue was made available for President Trump to contest the results," Mr. Biden said. "He took full advantage of each and every one of these avenues. President Trump was denied no course of action he wanted to take." He also highlighted Mr. Trump's insistence that he won in a landslide in 2016 with 306 electoral votes, the same number Mr. Biden won in 2020. At the same time, President Trump called the Electoral College tally a landslide. Mr. Biden said, "By his own standards, these numbers represented a clear victory then, and I respectfully suggest that you do so now. Mr. Trump won 232 electoral votes." At times, Mr. Biden tried to take a more unifying tone, repeating his campaign promise to be a president for all Americans, meanwhile telling the Americans that voted for Trump that their votes didn't count and just shut up and accept it, and saying he will work just as hard for those who didn't vote for me as those of you who did, which means getting out into the basement and never coming out. "We're a great nation. We're good people. We may come from different places and have different beliefs, but we share a common love for this country and a belief in the limitless in the United States of America," Mr. Biden said. Mr. Biden also praised local election workers, saying "We owe these public servants a debt of gratitude for working through the coronavirus pandemic and through the threats of violence." Threats of violence, you say? Gee, the only threats of violence that I remember from this past year came from black-clad people with bike locks. The 538 members of the Electoral College convened on Monday at state capitals from coast to coast, where they cast paper ballots individually for president and vice president. While the vote typically takes place without much fanfare, this year's meeting was thrust into the spotlight as CNN tried to sell more commercials for the last episodes of The Federal Apprentice, and Mr. Trump tried to pressure state Republican lawmakers to subvert the will of the voters and name their own electors. This gambit, too, failed. A long-shot lawsuit from Texas filed with the Supreme Court against 4 key states attempted to extend Monday's deadline for the Electoral College to meet and block electors from those states from voting. But the High Court rejected the bid, backed by Mr. Trump on Friday. So yes, he's going to be the president for all Americans. Aren't you excited to have a President Biden be your president for all Americans? Come on, man. Come on. I got hairy legs. And they get blonde in the sun. And those kids love jumping up in my lap. That guy is going to be the president. All right, let's keep going here. Kamala Harris had some stuff to say yesterday. From Fox News, Kamala Harris calls to honor Sandy Hook victims with gun reforms. From Louis Cassiano, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris called for gun reforms to honor the victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School mass shooting on Monday, which marks the 8th anniversary of the tragedy that took the lives of more than 24 people, including 20 first graders. Harris marked the occasion in a tweet that was accompanied by pictures of the victims. "Today marks 8 years since 20 first graders and 6 educators were murdered at Sandy Hook Elementary School," she wrote. "To honor the lives lost in this terrible tragedy, it's past time we implement some common sense gun safety reforms to keep our children safe." Advocates for gun control measures have often cited the December 14, 2012 shooting at the Newtown, Connecticut school and other mass shootings. The Sandy Hook shooting left 20 first graders and 6 teachers and staff dead. On Monday, Senator Richard Blumenthal said the victims should be honored with positive action and to redouble efforts against gun violence under a new administration. "We mark this painful 8th anniversary of the shooting at Sandy Hook with renewed resolve to honor the beautiful lives lost. with positive action and redouble efforts against gun violence under a new administration. Gun control is often called the third rail of American politics, eliciting strong reactions on both sides of the debate. Since Sandy Hook, more than 20 state legislatures have expanded background check requirements on some types of firearms, The Hill reported. So, they're going to continue to milk that tragedy for all of it's worth, to try and come and take your firearms away from you. Pay attention, follow the bouncing ball, and see what it is that they're trying to do. Let's see what the Daily Wire has to say. What we saw, Apollo 11. Get 20% off with code WATCH. Don't you want a membership to the Daily Wire? Don't you want that? For 20% off, guys. Alright, let's see what they have to say here. Progressive attack Ocasio-Cortez over sellout vote to keep Speaker Pelosi. Ocasio-Cortez insists she's negotiating, from Emily Zanotti. Representative Nancy Pelosi will likely retain the House Speaker's gavel by a very slim margin, and progressives are angry that Democratic Socialists, particularly members of the self-labeled squad, are committed to casting ballots for Pelosi without negotiating for concessions from the current House Speaker. In particular, progressives want Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to press for a vote on Medicare for All plan, which both Pelosi and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden oppose. Progressive radio host Jimmy Dore is leading the charge, demanding Ocasio-Cortez honor her earlier commitment to forcing a vote on Medicare for All, and suggesting that now, when Pelosi is noticeably weakened, is a good time to press the issue. Progressives in Congress can actually force a Med for All vote if they withhold their vote for Pelosi as the Speaker to do it, Dore tweeted. I ask all progressives to pressure your favorite progressive congressperson to withhold their vote for Pelosi and demand Medicare for All vote. The plan that is best for everyone is Medicare for All. 15 million Americans have lost their jobs and don't have the money to purchase insurance from your donors, Dore added later, tagging Ocasio-Cortez. Pressure your progressive representative to withhold their vote until Pelosi holds Medicare for All vote in the House. The radio host doubled down, demanding to know why Ocasio-Cortez wasn't engaging in public negotiations over the issue and asking what changed, in reference to the New York Democrats' previous pledge to force a Medicare for All vote at the earliest opportunity. Well, see, she got a bunch of money from a backdoor deal to go out and pull the neoliberal line, and she's more concerned about being famous than she is about actual progressive policy. This isn't hard. You guys know what's going on. I mean, my audience is smart. You guys know what's going on. I'm sure this radio host knows what's going on too. This isn't hard. This is not rocket science. Ocasio-Cortez got offered a bunch of money and sold out her values. End of story. The tweet started a snowball effect with everyone from MSNBC anchor Crystal Ball to former Democratic presidential candidate Marianne Williamson joining the call to have progressives demand a Medicare for All vote in return for casting ballots to keep Nancy Pelosi in charge. This could be interesting. This could very well be interesting because they have a razor-thin majority. And I don't know how any of this works. I'm going to tell you that right now. I have not studied the ways and means of the House. But even with a Democratic majority, is it possible to have a Republican Speaker of the House? Can that be done? If all the progressives withhold their votes and decide not to do it, could that possibly be done? I'm very curious about that, because that would be the cat's meow if there was a Republican Speaker of the House with a Democrat majority in the House and a Biden-Kamala presidency, especially if McConnell retains the Senate. Can't you imagine what that would look like? That would be amazing. I'm enjoying Jimmy Dore putting House progressives on the spot for how they aren't demanding anything in return for giving Pelosi their vote for Speaker. He's pointing out that they have not organized a coherent political agenda. Activist Matt Stoller added pointedly, progressives should either become a coherent independent Dem faction or fully embrace what they effectively are, a loyal supportive faction of Democrats with no independent policy goals. He added, directing his ire at Ocasio-Cortez specifically, Stoller and some others did not object to asking for Medicare for All, specifically, noting that few Democrats are interested in a plan to transition to a fully state-run healthcare system without a concrete plan in place. Instead, Stoller suggested a number of more achievable goals: changes to the House procedure, committee positions, and freedom to pursue a policy agenda separate from the Democratic bloc. I would love to see them pass Medicare for All and see it get slapped down by the court. I would love to see that, because I got a feeling that's coming too. Late Sunday night, Ocasio-Cortez finally responded to the campaign, claiming that she was engaged in negotiations over her vote for the speaker, but that she was obligated to keep those negotiations quiet. "They aren't demanding anything is an assumption, and a false one," Ocasio-Cortez said on Twitter. "These structural negotiations happen, and they just aren't live tweeted. These negotiations started months ago and include House rules, pay-go exemptions, committee makeup, vote commitments, investigations, etc." She did not respond to repeated requests in her mentions for specifics about the negotiations themselves. Instead, she claimed that progressives are hamstrung by more moderate Democrats. Oh, I want to see. Just withhold your vote. Don't vote for the speakership. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens. There is a civil war within the Democratic Party, and I want to see it crack. I want to see it come apart at the seams. I want to see them split because they have nothing in common. And it's going to be hilarious to watch. All right, let's keep going here from CNN. Attorney General William Barr resigns. From Ali Malloy, Devin Cole, Christina Carrega, and Kevin Liptak. Attorney General William Barr on Monday said that he would resign next week, ending a tenure in which the President Trump loyalist carried the administration's law and order message, but ultimately dealt the most credible blow to Trump's unfounded claims that the 2020 election were littered with fraud. His departure was announced by the president on Twitter moments after counting in Electoral College put President-elect Joe Biden over the 270 votes needed to formally secure the presidency. Despite escalating tensions between Trump and Barr that had burst recently into public view, the president framed Barr's departure as amicable. "Just had a very nice meeting with Attorney General Bill Barr at the White House. Our relationship has been a very good one. It's the best, okay? Barr is the best. He's the honey badger. He's done an outstanding job. As per letter, Bill will be leaving just before Christmas to spend the holidays with his family," Trump tweeted, announcing the news. Deputy AG Jeff Rosen, "An outstanding person, will become acting AG. Highly respected. Richard Donahue will be taking over the deputies of Deputy Attorney General. Thank you to all." Despite Trump's upbeat message, he'd been seriously considering firing his AG as recently as Sunday. People familiar with the matter said, though officials did not believe he would go through with dismissing Barr immediately. Well, there are some things that go along with this. And CNN's going to go back and talk about this as if Barr was a hero, because he was the most evil person when Trump tapped him, when he started working for the Trump administration. But now he's suddenly a hero because he votes the right way on certain things, and he says that there was no fraud. By the way, Susan, there was no fraud in this election. But there are problems with Barr. And Barr, we should have seen this coming. Barr came out and said that he saw the evidence of the Hunter Biden probe all the way back in the spring and did nothing about it. After the impeachment, he did nothing about it. Not a damn thing about it. And now he's a hero to the left. It's funny how much less concerned we are about Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh, Neil Gorsuch, and now Bill Barr. And the mustache. Walrus mustache. What the hell's his name? Michael Flynn. No, not Michael Flynn. Not that guy. That guy's an ass. I can't think of the dude's name. John Bolton. That's the guy. How much of heroes these guys are now that they've stood against the evil orange man, when they were supposed to be nothing but just Trump lackeys that were just going to do whatever it was that Trump said. He's the GOP father. I saw that meme as we were going along here. And now he's just another upstanding politician. I wonder if he's going to work in the Biden White House. But yes, Barr is fired. From the Hill. Stephen Miller, alternate electors will keep Trump election challenge alive, from Brett Samuels. President Trump's allies are preparing to send an alternate slate of electors to Congress. Senior White House advisor Stephen Miller said on Monday, signaling Trump will drag out his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election, even after the Electoral College certifies Joe Biden as the winner. Miller, appearing on Fox News as a senior advisor to the Trump campaign, brushed off the idea that the Electoral College vote marked any kind of end to the process. The only date in the Constitution is January 20th, so we have more than enough time to right the wrong of fraudulent election results to certify Donald Trump as the winner of the election, Miller said on Fox and Friends. As we speak today, an alternate slate of electors in the contested states is going to vote, and we're going to send those results up to Congress, he continued. This will ensure that all of our legal remedies remain open. That means that if we win these cases in the courts, that we can direct that the alternate state of electors be certified. Electors from every state will meet on Monday to formally elect Joe Biden as the next president. Those results will be certified by the states and submitted to Congress. Miller indicated that Trump supporters will act as alternates in a handful of contested states, including Georgia, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, to submit their own unofficial results should the Trump campaign succeed in overturning the outcome of any of those states, Miller said. The alternate electors could then be recognized by Congress. Nothing in the Constitution or the state electoral processes allows for such an alternate slate of electors. Fact check true. I think that Miller is grasping at straws at this point, trying to do something to keep the MAGA base coming up and out there and excited and keep giving money to the president's campaign fund. I think we're getting to a stretch too far on this one. And once again, I said it last night, we can look at the policy of some of these people and not look at the ridiculousness of what they're doing. But yeah, I don't recognize any way that this could happen, that this could be done, that this could even be feasible. And I think that would border on constitutional crisis if they tried to go off and do something like that. So, that's what we see from there. Let's look into Michigan. State officials dispute conclusions from newly released audit of Antrim County voting results. Weird. This came out right after the Electoral College voted. Weird. That's funny. I wonder why. I wonder why nobody's talking about this, or was talking about this before. From Jack Nissen. State officials are disputing a new report analyzing the results from the Antrim County in Michigan, which argues the results should not have been certified due to equipment purposefully designed with inherent errors. The forensic audit of equipment used in the 2020 election in the northern Michigan county was public after a judge approved its release on Monday morning. But the findings from the report are inaccurate, incomplete, and misleading, an assistant AG argued in a virtual hearing after withdrawing objections about the analysis's results. There's no reason to hide, said Eric Grill, who represented the Michigan Secretary of State in the case. The forensic imaging of Dominion voting system equipment used in some Michigan precincts was ordered by a 13th Circuit Court judge after a lawsuit was filed against Antrim County over concerns of election irregularities from the 2020 election. The analysis continued that the equipment intentionally generates an enormously high number of ballot errors, which leads to voter or election fraud. Controversy over the county's results stemmed from a failure to update the equipment software that led to a glitch that initially showed Joe Biden beating Donald Trump by 3,000 votes, an unusual result for a largely Republican county where local GOP officials rarely face competition from other candidates. Despite officials from both parties agreeing on the cause of the error, misinformation about the voter equipment reporting inaccurate results during the presidential election has run rampant since November 3rd. But we just saw that there were inaccurate results. What? How is that misinformation? We saw the results. Some of the allegations have made their way into lawsuits backed by the president, who has repeatedly tried to overturn the several states' results following his prediction showing Biden winning. In Michigan, Biden won by more than 154,000 votes. But did he, is the question. Russell Ramsland, the cybersecurity expert who is part of the security company that ran the forensic audit on December 6th, has previously sworn affidavits arguing election equipment like Dominion voting systems led to massive voter irregularities. In one particular case, a report he signed off on mistook precinct data from Minnesota for that of Michigan, a fact later found. In the latest case, Ramsland disagreed with the conclusion drawn by state officials concerning the human error made in Antrim County, instead arguing a machine error built into voting software caused a vote flip. And once again, I don't understand why it is that we're not talking about this more, because, voting machines flipping votes has been a concern since there were voting machines. We talked about this in the 90s, for God's sakes. People walking up to the voting machine and say, "Oh, I'm pushing the Clinton button and oh my God, the other one keeps coming up." Who ran against Clinton the second time? I don't even know. Was it Dole the second time? Or was that the first time? It was the second time. "Yeah, I keep pushing Clinton and the Dole one keeps lighting up. I don't know what to do. What do I do?" We've been hearing that since 1996. Every election, except for this one. That I pushed the person I wanted to vote for and it changed my vote. And it goes both directions too. Republicans said that in 2016 about Hillary Clinton. And Democrats said that about Barack Obama. I'm sorry, about why can't I think of anybody's name this morning? Mitt Romney. They said that about Mitt Romney. They said that about John McCain. They said it in both directions. This is not a system that has accuracies. This is something we've been talking about for literally decades. And people still trust these machines. I don't. But that's what we've got from that. Speaking of audits, from WSB TV out of Atlanta. Secretary of State orders signature audit of Cobb County absentee ballots. Georgia's Secretary of State says his office has ordered an audit of voter signatures on absentee ballot envelopes in Cobb County. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger made the announcement during an afternoon news conference on Monday. Starting immediately, conveniently, after the Electoral College started voting, we're pulling our resources together with the GBI to conduct a signature match audit in Cobb County, Raffensperger said. The audit will include November's general election and the primary election over the summer. Voter privacy is top of mind, and we will never release how someone voted. We're only reviewing our signatures on the envelope. We recently received a report that Cobb County may have not conducted a proper signature match in June, and we will look at that claim, Raffensperger said. We will look at that claim the day after the Electoral College met. Which, given the importance of Georgia in the Senate coming up in January, I'm glad they're at least looking into some of this at this point, but still. We couldn't look at this on November 4th. We have to look at this now. What's going on here? Who's trying to figure out and who's trying to come up to some sort of agenda ends? What kind of agenda are you trying to push, and are you still out there trying to make sure that nobody from the outside comes in and runs in your little boys club? That's what I'm pissed about. I don't care who wins this election, but given the fact that because somebody came from the outside, they have done everything to stymie the administration and ultimately end it. And I bet you they've got some sort of legislation that's been broken, or some sort of law that's been broken, some sort of criminal case sitting up, waiting to take President Trump into custody and put him into prison forever to make sure that you never, ever think about running for the presidency or any other office unless you're in their little boys club that they have. They've got to keep people from getting up there trying to primary people. I mean, look at the last election. Andrew Yang ran and Marianne Williamson ran. They thought it was okay because Donald Trump ran. These are not people from the inside. These are evil people from the outside who sell books and sell products of UBI and sell business. They're not people who have sat in Congress for 40 years and now get a chance at the presidency. That's not who these people are. Why are they running? So I do have to look back and see what it is and what's going to happen with this. All right, let's keep going here. From Fox News. Pennsylvania sheriff leaves Democrats, switches to GOP due to party socialist agenda. From Talia Kaplan. A sheriff in Pennsylvania told Fox and Friends on Monday that he changed his political affiliation to Republican because of the shift in ideals in the Democratic Party at a national level, including a socialist agenda. Fayette County Sheriff James Custer said he switched to the Republican Party after considering the move for several months. He noted that the coronavirus pandemic and the related restrictions helped influence his decision. It probably started back when the pandemic started and the mandates coming down by the Democratic governors, Custer said, noting that he feels those orders are unconstitutional. He went on to say that as a sheriff, it is his duty to protect and serve and uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, and he believes the mandates being brought down on our citizens are unconstitutional. Custer stressed the importance of being able to protect their rights and freedoms under the Constitution. Last week, Pennsylvania was hit with the new restrictions as positive coronavirus cases continue to explode throughout the states. Democratic Governor Tom Wolf held a press conference on Thursday afternoon announcing the newest rules, which include a ban on all indoor dining, as well as closing gyms, theaters, and other indoor entertainment for 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks. That's what we were told. 2 weeks was what we were told 7 months ago. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. 8 months ago at this point. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and here we are in December. Still mostly locked down. Additional temporary restrictions were repealed, which limit gathering sizes to 10 people inside and 50 outdoors, and ban spectators from attending in-person professional and collegiate sports. High school and youth sports have been suspended. The new rules will go into effect as of 12:01 a.m. Saturday and remain in place until 8 a.m. January 4th, according to a tweet from the governor. Yeah, they'll just go away, won't they? They'll actually get rescinded. I hope that people start moving out of these progressive states, and I hope that they leave their voting behind when they do. And good on the sheriff, too, because he realizes the unconstitutionality of this. They swore the oath to uphold the Constitution, not any particular politician's agenda. And good on him for doing that. All right, just a few more here, then we'll do Twitter trending and head on out of here. From the Daily Wire. New York Times slams writer for not calling Jill Biden doctor. Here's how they referred to Dr. Ben Carson for years. I guess Shapiro went on a big rant about that yesterday, too. I haven't read or listened to the Ben Shapiro show from yesterday yet, but I guess he went on a massive rant about that. He was pissed because, my wife's a doctor, and she's the one that's earned doctor, and, I could be called doctor, too, because of something I did in law school, apparently. I don't know. But this is from Hank Berrien. In an opinion piece published on Friday in the Wall Street Journal, Joseph Epstein, former editor of the American Scholar, triggered a firestorm when he suggested that Jill stop referring to herself as Dr. Jill Biden because she was not a medical doctor, having earned a doctorate in education. On Saturday, New York Times published a piece in response titled, "An opinion writer argued Jill Biden should drop the doctor. Few were swayed." The piece began, "Do people who go by doctor need to carry stethoscopes?" The Times' response focused on people who viewed Epstein's remarks as sexist attacks, suggesting the only reason Epstein offered his perspective was that Biden was a woman. Yet the Times itself has its own history of dismissing the honorific doctor. To take just one example, below is how the Times covered one of the leading neurosurgeons in the world, Dr. Ben Carson. This is from December 21st of 2014. A conservative think tank recently sent Ben Carson, a potential presidential candidate and fierce critic of the federal healthcare overhaul, a series of messages to post on Twitter during the grilling of a house of Jonathan Gruber, the MIT economist who advised the Obama administration. September 21st, 2015. The spotlight rarely found Ben Carson this summer, while on other presidential candidates shot flaming arrows at rivals, and sometimes the news media, the soft-spoken Mr. Carson seemed to struggle to be noticed. March 2nd, 2016, Ben Carson, the only Republican to have once threatened the lead of Donald J. Trump in national polls, said on Wednesday that he saw no path forward and would skip a debate on Thursday in his hometown of Detroit. January 11, 2017, now Mr. Carson, tapped by President-elect Donald J. Trump to become the next Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, will most likely have the power and opportunity to apply his mother's conservative message to people's lives. May 25th, 2017, Ben Carson, head of the HUD. March 5th, 2018, before Ben Carson accepted President Trump's offer to become Secretary of Housing. May 13th, 2018, the Contempt of Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson for the Fair Housing Act of 1968 has blinded him to policies. So yeah, absolutely, they've gone through, and this is the New York Times, coming through and just saying, Ben Carson, Mr. Carson. Not Dr. Carson, Mr. Carson, for a week. So that's what we're seeing from that. Let's keep going. From the Daily Mail. Elementary school principal is suing school district after being fired for sharing conservative memes on her Facebook page where she'd rather vote for a potato than Joe Biden. From James Gordon for DailyMail.com. The principal of a Pennsylvania elementary school who was fired after being accused of posting politically conservative posts on her personal Facebook is suing to get her job back along with $500,000 for the emotional turmoil she's been put through. Amy Sachs, who's been a teacher for 20 years, posted on Thanksgiving Day that the Perkiomen Valley School District and Superintendent Barbara Russell decided that the First Amendment freedom of speech has no place in public schools, and that teachers and administrators are unfit to serve if they hold and express political beliefs that are right of center. Yeah, I could have told you that. The outburst came after Sachs was removed from her post as the principal of Evergreen Elementary School in July. Her attorney says she was mysteriously removed with little explanation, suggesting the district superintendent, Russell, sacked her because she found her social media postings offensive, unacceptable, and unprofessional, and believed Sachs to be racist. I mean, you can't be surprised at this point. They've been doing this for at least a decade, probably closer to 15 years. They go through your social media, they see what it is that they like and they don't like. That's why so many doctoral candidates scrub their social media as they get ready to go into a doctoral or a PhD program, or even a medical doctor program. They'll go through and scrub their social media of all their bar pictures, their drunken pictures, and everything else that they've done that was stupid throughout everything. Your social media is in play. Now, do I believe that the school district should have done this? No, but we should have seen this coming. I don't post to Facebook anymore. I don't touch that. The only thing that goes to my Facebook is this feed, the stream for this feed right here. That's the only thing that goes to my Facebook page. And yes, my boss knows, and I made it very abundantly clear when I started. This is what I do. This is what I do on Twitter. This is what they're going to try and say about me. It's not true. I'm not a racist. I'm not in the Klan. I'm not any of these things. And here's my Twitter if you want to follow it. Here's my YouTube channel if you want to see what I'm saying. Because they can do that. I work in a fairly conservative environment, though, so that's a helpful point in my favor. But when you're sitting here, and I don't know if the union can get involved in this either, because this shouldn't be an at-will position. This should be a unionized position, which let the union actually do something for once. But yeah, the union reps should come up. I don't know if they will, because union reps are notoriously, especially public sector union reps, are notoriously Democrat. So this teacher might be screwed at this point, but it's at least worth a look. The virus, the cure, is one of the memes that she put up there, which is true. Due to COVID, we're going to need people to riot from their own homes and destroy your own shit. This is a potato. If this potato was running against Joe Biden, I'd vote for the potato. Amateur looters, professional looters. Okay, this woman's got some good memes. They're boomer memes, but they're still good memes. So, that's what's happening in Pennsylvania. All right, from The Hill, Cuomo says former aide has a right to make sexual harassment allegations. It's just not true. From John Bowden. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo denied accusations of sexual harassment from a former aide and candidate for Manhattan Borough President on Monday. At a press conference detailing the state's COVID-19 prevention efforts, the governor was questioned by a reporter on a now viral Twitter thread from Lindsey Boylan, a former special advisor to the governor and economics official with New York State government. "Yeah, I heard about the tweet and what it said about comments that I had made," Cuomo said on Monday. "It's not true," he continued. "Look, I fought for it, and I believe a woman has the right to come forward and express her opinion, okay? And expresses issues and concerns that she has. But it's just not true, all right? Now stop asking me about that before I box your fucking ears. Cuomo's remarks on Monday are his first public comments on the thread from Boylan, posted on Twitter Sunday evening, claiming that the governor sexually harassed me for years. While not detailing specific allegations, Boylan also added that she could never anticipate what to expect, including whether she'd be grilled on my work, which was very good, or harassed about my looks. Yeah, deny, deny, deny. I don't know if this is true or not. Like I said, Boylan's not coming forward and talking to either the police or reporters, so I do have questions. This seems like the kind of thing that Annie would do, but of course, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. We can't just take the social media allegations and put somebody through the court of social media either. If we want to get something done and get some of this changed, we do need to look into this, get some criminal allegations taken care of, and get this guy out of office. So hopefully something comes out of this, whether it be an ending and Cuomo being acquitted, or an accusation and a conviction. But let's not just let this up in the air and let this go through the court of social media anymore. Not that it would, because he's got that D after his name. That is a big shield against sexual harassment allegations. All right, let's keep going. From the New York Post, Portland's Red House Autonomous Zone dismantled after mayor apologizes, from Lee Brown. The fenced-off, booby-trapped autonomous zone in Oregon has finally been dismantled after Portland's mayor brokered a deal with protesters and apologized to them. The Twitter handle for those leading those protests at the Red House on Mississippi started calling for comrades to help take these barricades down on Sunday night. Our work is not going unseen, the protesters tweeted, hailing a deal between the city and the Kinneys, the black family whose eviction sparked the 3-block barricade covered in Antifa and anti-cop graffiti. The mayor has promised the Kinney family that they will not raid Red House as long as the barricades are taken down by Monday night, the group said. The autonomous zone was set up on Tuesday, though the protests have been held at a site for the past 3 months. Most of the barricades were gone by late Sunday, according to the Oregonian. There are some of the pictures right there. Eat the rich. The picket signs, the knocked over no parking sign. BLM, fuck 12, land back, evictions hurt everyone. All of that kind of fun stuff. Mayor Ted Wheeler's office confirmed that the deal had been struck, though it was not clear if the house was being sold back to the Kinneys, the family that was evicted after defaulting on a second mortgage taken out to pay the relatives' legal fees in a criminal case. Wheeler did, however, write to the family to apologize for his own earlier tweet in which he authorized the cops to use all lawful means to end the illegal occupation, according to the letter shared with the Oregonian. We did not intend to attract attention that results in threats of harm and violence to your family, or that escalated tensions in our community, he wrote to the family, the paper said. Nobody should be subjected to this kind of stress and harm, and we apologize for the role that our tweets played in this. So, Ted Wheeler is sorry. Just take the house and don't hurt my city anymore. Don't hurt me. Take the barricades down, please. Honestly, this family's lucky that the investor let them stay living in the house. I understand that times were tough, but the fact that he let them stay living there, because he could have easily, as soon as he bought that, he could have easily come back and said, okay, now you're out on your feet. Get the hell out of here. Get out of my house. And honestly, this has got to make it, especially in Portland, it's got to make it harder for people to go and buy rental property at this point, because if somebody gets evicted for whatever reason, now they're going to have everybody in BLM going out and protesting out the house. I bet you, I wouldn't be surprised right now if we start to see property values in Portland start to plummet because of that, because investors aren't going to want to come back and invest in the housing. And of course, people are going to want to move out of there as well, because shit's nuts. But we will have to see. All right, from the Daily Wire. Watch, furious California restaurant owner confronts inspectors and issuing citation. Are you going to pay my rent? From Hank Berrien. after a small restaurant owner in Ventura, California, west of LA, was allegedly issued a citation for staying open after being given a closure order. The owner confronted public health inspectors with an angry, impassioned defense, asserting, "I followed the rules. I continue to follow the rules, and you guys still, time after time, are giving me citations. Are you going to pay my rent?" It's like the Ukrainian guy from Spider-Man. Rent? What is, sorry, can I eat that? Rent? Rent? Last week, Anton Van Happen, the owner of Nick the Green in downtown Ventura, put up signs advertising a protest saying, "My calling is to all other restaurant owners to open your restaurants. If we all open up, they can't do anything." In the video, the female inspector starts by saying to Van Happen, "I understand that you're..." Then the exchange follows. "I followed the rules. I continue to follow the rules, and you guys still time after time are giving me citations, telling me I have to close my business. What about my employees?" "You're not following the rules, sir." "I'm not following the rules. The tables are inside. Just because the health department has a whole process to go through that takes however long that takes, I have to close my business for that time. Are you gonna pay my rent? Are you gonna pay my rent?" Female inspector, "You chose to make those decisions." Van Happen, "I chose to protest by putting my tables outside, and I reiterated that I never sold one single person outside. I did all takeout food and delivery, so what exactly am I supposed to be doing? That's exactly what I did. I did not break any, and it was not even a law. I did not break any rule." Female inspector, "There's a law that you're breaking right now by operating without a permit." Van Happen, "Because you guys put this closure on my restaurant, so you guys yourselves are creating your own rule, and you're giving out citations for your own rule that's created. That's not law. You cannot sit outside and eat. That's not law. That's a form that I was given. So you can have people that pulled your citation based on that. It's already been ordered. I'm not issuing a closure. You guys closed me. You guys actually closed me." And it goes on like that for a little while on top of that. But yeah, I mean, they're pulling the licenses of these businesses that won't play ball with these draconian rules to make sure that they are committing a crime. They're not committing a crime because governor's orders are not existing law, but the governor's orders are forcing the health inspectors to pull the licenses, so you are breaking the law. It's a vicious cycle. And this is the kind of politics and the kind of red tape that California wants the rest of the country to go through. That is kind of bullshit. I just want to pay that guy, what is it in California, $75, and get a little burger back. That's all I want. I'll give you $75. You give me a little 8-pound burger. That can't be that hard. I wonder if we can listen to this. It'll pop it up in a new window, I guess, but yeah, we can listen to this.
I followed the rules. I continue to follow the rules, and you guys still, time after time, are giving me citations, telling me I have to close my business. What about my employees?
You're not following the rules.
I am following the rules. My tables are inside. Just because the health department has a whole process to go through that takes however long that takes, I have to close my business for that time? Are you going to pay my rent? Are you going to pay my rent?
You chose to make those decisions, right?
I chose to protest by putting my tables outside, and I reiterate again, I never served one single person outside. I did all takeout food and delivery to what exactly I was supposed to be doing. That's exactly what I did. I did not break any, and there's not even a law, I did not break any rule.
There is a law that you're breaking right now by operating without a permit.
Because you guys put this closure on my restaurant.
Right.
So you guys yourselves are creating your own rule, and you're giving my citation for your own rule that's created. It's not by law that you cannot sit outside and eat. That's not law. That's an order that was given.
Okay.
So you cannot give me a closure citation based on that.
It's already been ordered. I'm not issuing a closure. I'm saying
What do you mean issuing a closure? You guys closed me. You guys asked me to close me.
I'm not issuing the citation, the closure. The restaurant is already closed. The permit has been suspended. However, your refusal to close warrants a
Because what am I going to do if I close? Are you going to pay my rent?
No, No. All we need
Okay, so if you're not gonna pay my rent, I'm not closing.
we need to reopen.
If you're not gonna pay I told you already.
We could have reopened today. We could be open right now.
No,
However,
you should give me a citation instead of telling me I can open.
yeah, well, we've missed those steps. The steps that you need to take to make sure that you can open your business. You couldn't have
You're telling me I can reopen today.
You could have reopened
How?
already.
How?
The steps are listed in the report that was
Which I did. I called the guy. The guy I spoke to on the phone was a supervisor. Because he made a mistake, that was on me. He made a mistake. It's recorded on my phone what he said. Yes, he did. He told me if I put it in writing to him on an email that I will follow the rules and I will not put my tables for outside down.
All right, so that was that lengthy exchange that went along with that. And I mean, I'm actually glad that there are cell phone cameras everywhere at this point. I don't know if that's a cell phone camera or somebody's body cam that was going off with that, but every time you are interacting with the government, you should be recording. You should have a recording on, because they can and will take whatever you say and use it against you and spin it into whatever context they want to spin it into. So if you have your own evidence, you always should. I turn on my, if I get pulled over for something, like driving too fast, I turn on my cell phone camera. At least the audio recording. So, that's what we saw up out of California. And good on this guy, too, because, yeah, he realizes what's going to happen when a large bureaucracy comes down and says who can be open and who can't for when and how long. Once again, we'll pull another person like this out of California, out of progressive California. Somebody who just wants to make reasonably priced burgers and hand them to people in exchange for money. That's all this dude wants to do, and live in the warm weather. So, I hope this inspires this guy. Alright, and I got one last little white pill for you guys, and then we'll head on out of here. From The Blaze. 2-year-old boy abandoned at Mississippi Goodwill drop-off with a note about his mother. Police later made an arrest in the case. So this kid's going to get the help that he needs. Because it does seem like there were some bad things going on with that. A 2-year-old boy was abandoned at a Mississippi Goodwill drop-off with a note about his mother on Monday. The heartbreaking incident happened in South Haven, a suburb of Memphis, Tennessee. The South Haven Police Department said the boy was healthy and in good spirits when a man left him at about 10 a.m. with employees at the drop-off. They said the child played with toys, even though he was not dressed for the cold temperature when he arrived. The man was seen with a woman accompanying him. The note was written on the paper and read, "Child abandoned, no phone number for mom." Police said in a Facebook post that the child was too young to give his name or the names of his relatives. When they asked him his age, he held up 2 fingers. The child was left in a plastic bag that contained a change of clothing and some food. Police interviewed a worker at the Goodwill who told them that the man who dropped him off said simply the child's mother couldn't care for him. The police said they later made an arrest in the case across the state borderline in Memphis. South Haven police received numerous tips with the assistance of FBI offices in both Mississippi and Tennessee, along with the Shelby County Sheriff's Department. A suspect related to this case has been taken into custody in Memphis. Police said the boy had been identified and was in the custody of Mississippi Child Protective Services, but would be reunited with his relatives. They are investigating the circumstances of this strange occurrence. Well, it's not that strange of an occurrence. It's a good occurrence on my end that the kid can get back to his family so quickly that they were able, even at 2 years old, unable to identify himself and his relatives. That the power of government was able to come together for good for once in their miserable existence, with tip lines, and find the family that this kid can grow up in a normal house and a normal family, even if his mother couldn't care for him. Because there were a lot of worse things that could have happened with this. There were a lot of worse things that could have come out of this. So it's good that this boy's going to be able to get back in and hang out with his relatives again and be a part of a family and be loved, and instead of being trafficked. Because there's so much trafficking going on right now. It seems like every week I look at another story that involves somebody being trafficked. So that's great. That's fantastic. Alright, and that is going to be it for news. And the last thing that we do is Twitter trending. So let's get over into the Explore page. See what's trending for the day. Trending. Number 1, Best Buy. People are trying to score a new PS5 or Xbox Series X from Best Buy online, but are facing overcrowding and app troubles. Yeah, I need a new console at this point. The newest console I own is a GameCube. But I don't have $1,000 for a PS5 or whatever the hell it costs. Hashtag 2, Biden will never be president. Oh, this will be good. Flat earthers be like, hashtag Biden will never be president. Yeah, so for the most part, this is a lot of people that are making fun of people who probably promulgated this in the first place. So, I don't know. He's probably going to be president, so my advice to everybody is make sure that you have got 4 months worth of food ready, dry food that isn't going to go bad, or frozen food. But make sure some of it's dry food, in case the freezer goes down. But make sure you've got 4 months worth of food stocked up, a contingency plan of a place to go in case jobs dry up and you have to wind up getting evicted because there are no jobs, which I've got a place like that too. Get your bug out bag in case you've got to leave in a moment's notice. And make sure that all of your financial affairs are in order, because this one's going to be harsh. It's going to be hard. I'm going to lock it down for 3 months and nothing's going to happen, okay? As more and more people get evicted and get foreclosed upon. So, prepare for that. All right. Number 3, Joel Osteen. That's always fun. I'm not surprised that Joel Osteen lied about receiving $4.4 million in PPP federal funds. Well, neither am I. He's kind of a hack. This is the same guy who closed his church to the displaced in Houston after the Hurricane Harvey and lied about the flood damage. We had to publicly pressure him to open his doors. Yeah. But unfortunately, the problem with this is these people like Charlotte Clymer and Brooklyn Dad Defiant, which I don't know who he's going to defy anymore, but Brooklyn Dad Defiant, Amy Vanderpool, these people are going to take what Joel Osteen did, who is a charlatan and a fraud, and they're going to apply it to every single person who picks up a Bible. That's how what their ire is going to be. Is Joel Osteen is representative of everybody who's ever picked up a Bible in his life. Unfortunately. And no, Osteen should not have got $4.4 million in PPP loans, because he is a mega millionaire already. He should have been able to take the hit. To be completely fair, I don't think my job should have got the PPP loans either, because they stayed open throughout the entire thing and business never slowed down. So, but they did. A lot of people got the PPP loans that they never should have got. All right. That's 3. What's 4? We skipped the Tuesday stuff. All right. Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated Joe Biden on victory in U.S. presidential election following Electoral College confirmation on Monday. You do what I say now, because otherwise I take Ukraine again. All right. What was that? That's 3. I'm sorry, that was 4. What's number 5? Skipping Tuesday thoughts. Hashtag, if my life were a Christmas movie. If my life were a Christmas movie, on December 2nd, 2016, I was homeless, hurt, and hungry. By Christmas Day, I was well fed and healing in my forever home. I even had my own Christmas stocking. Aw, kitty. Good kitty. What would you do if your life was a Christmas movie? If my life were a Christmas movie, it'd be one that teaches people not to believe in Santa or religion, but just to be nice to each other all year round. Miracle on Elm Street. I love it. Please, 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 please leave me home alone. My Life for a Christmas movie, I'd never walk from the North Pole to New York. Yeah, those are some interesting ones. All right, I believe that is 5, so we will head on out of here. Tell me what your life would be like if your life was a Christmas movie. I like the Nightmare on Elm Street one. Nightmare on 34th Street is what that should be, though. I like that one. But we're going to head on out of here. So we'll be back here tomorrow with more news. I'm sure that with the impending change in guard that's coming up, and Trump, of course, going on with every legal avenue he can find, this isn't over. We'll keep watching more of this, so we'll be keeping track on this and seeing what swampy creatures Joe Biden's going to be inviting into his administration. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's going to be a fun week, I think, for the rest of Contemporary. Looking forward to some of that, and looking forward to what the Red Ned Show could be for next week, because that's always interesting to try and predict. So we will see you here tomorrow for more Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.